K-12 education is a mess. U.S. literacy rankings are in the bottom half of the world and are a hidden cause of the erosion of our very ability to effectively self-govern. How did we get here? America's teachers can tell you, and the answers will shock you. This is K-12 Confidential.
Hey, Trina.
Hi, Mandy.
How are you?
Very good. Thank you for talking with me today.
I know. Well, you've kind of mentioned your stuff over the years. Obviously as your sister, I've heard you talk about different problems inside like the K-12 education system. And as someone who like follows news and other parts of like world events, I really know almost nothing about the specifics of what's wrong in the K-12 education system.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm really curious, what the problems really are, where they stem from, and kind of like how you got involved in this.
Thank you so much. First of all, I want to say thank you as my sister for interviewing me. Like, that is really important that we have someone outside of education asking the questions and helping us break down the content for the rest of America. Secondly, I want to show everyone that I am wearing my AFT, American Federation of Teachers lanyard. I just came back from presenting at Teach 2025 in Washington, D.C.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I was representing my organization that I've had since 2021 called School Staff Against Sexual Violence, which I'm going to be talking about in just a moment. It was life-changing to be in a room with self-selecting fellow teachers presenting that content. And the people in AFT are so gracious and kind. I cannot say enough about them. Yay, AFT! And then the other thing I'm wearing is my iCivics t-shirt. So iCivics was started by retired Supreme Court Justice Sandra Day O'Connor because she was very concerned about a lack of civics knowledge amongst our voting population. And they have come up with a beautiful, elegant curriculum that is free for teachers. And they are deliberately and intentionally bringing teachers into fellowship, which is what I just completed, was a year-long fellowship in the lower grades, in the middle school grades, to try to bring more civics education to the nation. So I just wanted to draw attention to two amazing organizations that I'm currently involved with, AFT and iCivics, not being paid by either one. Just love them to pieces.
But you literally just got back from DC a couple days ago, right?
I did. It was so amazing. I got sick.
Well,
So if you were in that conference, you're like, who in the heck is this chick? Okay, this chick was sick and I was stuck up in the hotel room. I would like sneak down to like get my Grubhub orders because I was like sick and that's all I could do. And I would see everybody running around with their cool lanyards, feeling left out and sad with a fever. Fortunately for me, it broke and I was able to present, and we just got our feedback back from the AFT conference staff that they collected from the participants that came to our conference, and it was very lovely. I know, I'm so grateful. Thank you. Thank you for coming. They were from all over the country. Obviously, I'm in California. The conference was in DC, and the participants were from everywhere. So I'm just very grateful.
Oh, well, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing and showing. But how does that relate to how you got started, right?
How does that relate to the K-12 Confidential podcast? Beautiful segue, Mandy. Okay, so I'm a teacher that's been teaching this is my 13th year in education. I teach 6th grade. We call it core in my district, but it can change. The phrasing is different in different places. I teach 6th grade ELA and ancient history.
ELA.
I got my degree in I got my degree in anthropology, which is the same subject.
What is ELA?
English Language Arts.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I have taught seventh grade before. I've taught in several different districts, very, very different demographics in all three different settings. And, but this isn't my first job. Before this, because I am 50, let's get real. Being on a camera with bright lights in my face at 50 is not fun. Um, but this is not my first career. My first career was running a domestic violence shelter and rape crisis hotline. And then I was a stay-at-home mom for a number of years because my kiddo has celiac disease and couldn't go to pre-K with celiac disease. So I think of teaching as my third career, really. And I think it gave me the ability to see things with more clarity than if I had just jumped straight into teaching, which, by the way, was my original career path when I started college way back in the 90s. I was going to go straight into elementary ed, took an anthropology class and went, no, I got to do this, and then ran with that for a while, you know, but eventually came full circle back to teaching. So when I got into teaching in 2013, I had a year prior working as a paraprofessional. I noticed a few issues kind of right off the bat. And those issues were not being talked about or well understood by the people around me. And those were my points of entry into the K-12 messes that we unpack step by step in the podcast. The first one was really the illiteracy problem. So I was teaching sixth grade, and I was noticing, this is a while ago, that I was reliably having students year over year who just could not read. Could not read. And they were what is called BIPOC, we refer to as BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, people of color, specifically African American boys. So I was in a district that was in a very diverse, large metropolitan, very urban setting. My original first placement in that district was a very socioeconomically disenfranchised neighborhood where it was all students that were all reading below grade level. I didn't have a single student reading at grade level.
Huh. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And then because of the what we call climate and culture problems there, I took that experience and headed off to a more privileged school in that district. But because we had open enrollment, we bused kids all the way from those very disenfranchised neighborhoods all the way to this very wealthy neighborhood. So there was a lot of diversity on that campus. And so what I was seeing there was that I had a lot of haves and have-nots. I had kids with really high reading opportunities, really high what we call reading achievement, right? And then I had kids who were, the privilege of being on that campus was not rubbing off on these other kids like whatsoever. They were reliably year over year. I still had kids who could not read. And the scary part was that there was no...
When you say like kids who cannot read and you reference below their reading level, like define what that is, because does that mean like they can't like read packaging on a food product?
Yeah.
Can they like day-to-day functioning life? Are they illiterate?
This is an excellent question, because when we talk about can and cannot read, there's some debate about what we mean by that. Like if you see kids sitting there struggling to sound out a word, a lot of people say, oh, that kid can read. But if you are a multiple subjects teacher, especially if you teach first and second grade and you're a veteran, you have a really specific esoteric understanding of what that means. What we mean is if a child is reading above the third grade level, they have mastered the foundations of reading skills. Now, that doesn't mean they're fluent readers yet. They can't necessarily engage with the basics that they need to, without help, engage with civic life, but they have mastered those discrete skills, which are not intuitive to learn or to teach. Because when we are talking about learning to read, our brains were never, ever meant for that task. Our brains are beautifully set up to learn language, but not reading. And a lot of people do not understand how hard it is to learn reading, especially if you're someone like me who learned to read very easily. And that tends to be we think about 10% of the population picks up reading very easily. It's just by nature of the wiring of the brain and the opportunities that they've had, and those tend to be the people that go into teaching. We're not smarter than anyone else. Our brains are just good at this, relatively good at this one task. And so then we don't have the imagination and the tenacity to dig into when our other fellow students cannot read right away, which is most people. Most people cannot read easily right away, particularly English. A very easy language to learn to speak because our verb conjugations are very easy, but extremely hard to learn to spell and read. Just the fact that we have a national spelling bee is evidence of that. Like, you don't have spelling bees in other languages, right? So, yeah.
I don't know. Do they?
No, absolutely not. So, what I was seeing was just a bunch of kids who could not read and no willingness to dig into the problem. Like, when I would go to my leaders and say, what are we doing for these children who cannot read?